Hey, everybody, I'm glad you're back. It's June in Pennsylvania, so it's, I think, 1,000 degrees outside. And I'm trying to force myself to get something done today because there's a fly in my ear. Because I believe if I do a little bit every day, it kind of keeps me moving and things move along. So today is another super fun day. They're all super fun days. And it actually is fun because I got another shipment of parts from EMPI USA for the GTV project. So today's video will be another unboxing video, which is fun for me, hopefully fun for everybody else. And then I'm going to do a firewall, lower firewall patch panel on the GTV. So hopefully it'll be interesting and entertaining and maybe a little instructional. And again, I love the idea. If you hate what I'm doing or love what I'm doing, tell me either way. I like criticism. It's the only way to get better. But so let's open these boxes and see what we got. All of this EMPI goodness is sitting on the GTV's pan. It's next up. There's a little bit of welding to finish on the body, and then it's this. I'm gonna guess brake parts, heavy. So the GTV is getting, and I might have said this in the other video, the GTV is gonna get an EMPI 2-inch narrow beam, which means the front end is narrowed so the tires run inside the fenders. It's gonna be slightly lowered, but not super low because it's going to be driven cross country. So when the car is finished, it's going from here to at least Las Vegas under its own power, which will be another great adventure. And I suspect this is a great test. What's that?
I said I had no idea you were getting a whole other shipment.
Yeah, actually I need to get a strongman help me with that.
Like me?
Yeah. Get Melissa to come from behind the camera and open this box for me. We'll see where the strength comes from around here. Oh, it's got under the tape are these big staples that I cut myself on in the last unboxing video. There's all kinds of stuff.
Can I move this?
Sure.
It's like right here. Thank you.
Emergency brake cables. Yeah, just from jiggling around shipping. And I think these are brake rotors.
Oh, is that like a container to...
It's actually a cool container, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was the part.
But the part, you know, travels cross country.
Cool tape.
Yeah, it's awesome. And that is one rear, and I can tell it's a rear rotor because it's got the spline for the drive axle. So that's cool. So the car is going to get 4 disc brakes. That's awesome. So these are both rear brake rotors for the GTV. And these cool shipping pods. And the rear disc brake learns to brake here. That's a cool setup. I like rear disc brakes on VWs that are cow look with skinny front tires because it gives more braking ability in the back, in my belief system. With skinny front tires, I feel like the back tire should have more braking grip because you count on them more. Others' opinions may vary. more suspension stuff. So, caster shims.
Yay!
Do you know what those are? They go behind the axle beam. It gives the front end more rake, so it makes the steering more stable at speed when a car is lowered. So if a car is level, it's designed to have a certain amount of caster in the steering. See, my hand is the angle of the steering angle. So when the car is going straight, it tends to go straight. It doesn't wiggle over bumps. When you lower the car, it makes that angle steeper, so you get shims to make it angled again. These are the shims. Make sense? They make the cars drive so much better. This is a cool accessory. I didn't know this was coming. So this is an EMPI GTV C-stripe kit. So the GTV that Bill bought off of me that I got in Milwaukee had all the GTV parts on it, but one of the things you could get with a GTV kit back in the day was a graphics setup, which was referred to as a C-stripe because the stripe is in the shape of a C on the side of the Beetle. So that's awesome. This is and I didn't even know EMPI was making these. So look, everybody, EMPI's making reproduction C-stripe kits for the GTVs. How awesome is that? So it would have originally came from EMPI back in the day, and this is coming from EMPI. Super cool. Actually got little chills that we're gonna put them on. I think these are gonna make the car. I kind of want to see what it looks like. I can take them out. There won't be much to see because they'll probably have, they're like vinyl stickers, so they'll have that backing on them. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna take a peek. So here is the diagram. Oh my gosh, look at that. I'm a child of the 70s, man. I get excited by this stuff. Can you get in close so that people can see? Yeah, you can see the hair up on my arms. That is really exciting to me.
Are you gonna cry?
Not cry, but I'm pretty happy about it. Wow.
And you didn't know that was coming?
I know that Bill said that he had a C-stripe kit for it, but we didn't really talk much further than that. And then this is the diagram. Can you get in close enough to show people? These are where all the stripes go on the car. So they follow the hood contour. On the side scoops, they follow the side scoop shape. And then on the quarter panels, it has this big C-stripe. And they're so good looking because it's silver and black. And so what I'll do is when the car's finished, as far as the body work, I'll do the paint blend on it, then we'll buff the whole car, and then the last thing we do will be put the C-stripe kit on it. The literal icing on the GTV cake. That's awesome. That's seriously, I got repeated goosebumps from it. The EMPI and Bill or whoever decided to include this in the kit, I think it's so awesome that we're putting the C-stripe kit on it.
C? Like letter
C? C, yeah, because if you look at the car on the passenger side, the stripe makes a C. The main stripe is in the shape of a C. This is a really nice surprise. I was having not such a cheery day, and that cheered me up. And then we have EMPI. These are front shock absorbers, and I know that they're shortened for the front end being lowered. These are what are on that car. Actually, I think all my current cars have these on the front. Whoop, whoop. Master sonder. I'm gonna get the viewing crowd excited looking at the master sonder.
What does this thing do?
This is the brakes.
Oh.
It's the heart of the brakes. Push the pedal, pushes a rod, compresses hydraulic fluid out through these lines to all the wheels. Actually, not out through these lines, out through these smaller lines. It goes in through these lines. It's interesting to think, that car was parked in a barn in 1982, and it was only 10 years old when it was put away. Well, it was 12 years old. But all the parts on it, because it sits, the hydraulic fluid is hydroscopic, it soaks in moisture, so brake systems on cars that have sat that long are always destroyed, so the car will get brand new brake components front to back. Brand new. Oh, this is awesome. This is one thing that I wasn't sure we got now. See if Melissa can guess from behind the camera what we have here.
Electrical stuff.
It's the whole harness for the car. And
gosh.
this is really good. And we could have probably made the original harness work in that car, but that car had more rodent nests in it than any car I've ever seen. And again, it's a barn car, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But that would require a lot of troubleshooting if, not to be gross, if the rodent urine has corroded fittings or electrical connections. It can be a gigantic pain getting it all set up. So this is awesome. Oh wait, I thought we were done. Look, show. But it's it's a false bottom. I went to pick it up and it's like, that's still heavy.
Paraphernalia.
Ah, this is awesome. So this is, I just put this exact kit on Alan's car last week. So this is an oil cooler for the engine oil. That engine that came with the GTV had a really old style oil cooler set up on it where they actually screw the oil filter on over the fan intake, which is a gigantic no-no. And so when we had the engine rebuilt by Tom Simpson, we added the ability to add an external oil cooler to it. Because again, I think Bill's gonna drive this car, and at least Bill or Melissa and I are gonna drive the car from here to Vegas or to California. So it's gonna be set up to actually put miles on it. Having an external oil cooler really makes a big difference in maintaining engine temperatures cross country, because it's an air-cooled car, and an air-cooled car is actually kind of oil-cooled too. So this is awesome. And again, even if we need to, I can add an electric fan to this, which I don't think we'll need to. So now the box is empty. This is heavy. Feels like more brake pads.
I love their packaging.
I know, the old logo. The current logo is the old logo, and it's still exciting to me because it's all disc brake mounting kit for the back. So these go onto the IRS trailing arms, caliper bolts onto that. That goes over the rotors that I just showed you. And it's nice because it's all the hardware kit. It's got the conversion cable ends to get the emergency brake set up, I'm sure. All the flex lines, brake pads, calipers. Once the welding's done, it's gonna be like putting a model car together, which I do enjoy welding, but I look forward to this part of the build. Everything gets a nice coat of paint and bolts on a nice brand new part.
All new parts.
Yeah, it's fun. And I'm grateful that all this stuff's sent by Bill and EMPI. Makes my work easier. Nice shiny CAD plated rear calipers. Melissa, what's a caliper do?
Oh, pinches the brakes. No, I don't know.
Yes.
Is it?
Pinches the rotor.
Or pinches the rotor.
Yeah, the rotor was the thing that came in those little cake boxes that I showed you. Remember the cool little EMPI black plastic boxes that I opened first thing?
Oh.
Those are the rotors. That's the part that the caliper grabs.
Oh, okay. Do our bikes have calipers?
Yeah. So your mountain bike has calipers. That's where I thought you'd know it from.
It holds the brake pads?
Yeah, so inside the caliper, is the brake pad that grabs the rotor. 3 different parts. Does that make sense?
What did you ask me earlier? What was not a camshaft?
Yeah, what's a camshaft?
Well, I said something different.
You mentioned this and I have to say, Melissa, what's a camshaft?
No, I thought.
There was one of my old VW buddies from the area hanging out here for a while, and Melissa came in from gardening. Actually, she wasn't gardening; she was shoveling dirt. And we were talking about camshafts, and I gave her a quick quiz what a camshaft was. And I'm allowed to say what you said it was.
I don't even know what it is.
She said it was a motorcycle part, which it is.
What is it again?
A camshaft is the part inside of an engine that opens and closes the valves in time with the engine so that it can suck gas in and expel waste.
I already asked you that 80 times and don't remember it.
Well, that's what car guys talk about because it's like
I noticed.
I'm not actually sure the culture of why camshafts are often discussed by car people, but it's some indicator maybe of the level of tune of a car. I don't know exactly why people like to talk about it, but
Kind of like girls talking about that.
Can you guess what this is? By the
Something
side.
to do with
Here, I'll give you a little clue.
fan shroud.
Good guess.
No.
That's actually not a very good guess. They're not this big.
Oh. An oil pan. I don't know. Oil,
Nope.
gas.
Yes.
Gas can.
Yes. What do they call a gas can that's actually part of the car?
Give me a hint.
Gas tank.
Oh.
Gas.
What did I call it?
You said it's a gas can. Well,
You know what I meant.
And I remember talking
Gas
to Bill about this stuff, when it was time to make a list of the things that we needed to get the car running. I kind of gave him a big list, and I should have thought about calling him first because I do this kind of stuff a lot. I don't really think through how long that list looks to somebody. And one of the things we talked about is what all does it need to have? Because the idea of the GTV is to preserve it, not make a fancy restoration. The car is going to be sort of kept as found, but made into a running, driving car. And that butt is big when you're taking a barn find car because it's got a big butt. But the butt is big because all the brake parts go bad. It doesn't even matter if it only sits in the barn for 10 years sometimes. All the brake parts are going to be bad. The entire fuel system is going to be bad. So when you, and again, in this car, the wiring harness worried me because there was a lot of rodent nests in this car, most I've ever seen. So then that, as a car guy, barn finder, but a barn find car is really normal, at least around here in this car's from the Midwest, to have a lot of rodent damage. And of course the rodents, it's insane. They eat the wires. They don't nibble them, they eat the wires.
Why is that?
So I don't know.
The metal.
I took a car apart in the junkyard the other day to get a fan assembly for my truck. And you could see where the mouse was camped out under the wiring, in the fuse block. Other people know what a fuse block is, but I took the fuse block out, and it was like a Chevy LS size one, so there's a sort of a mouse house space under there, and it had eaten and I'm sure that's why the truck was in the junkyard, it had eaten the wiring, and then you could see in the mouse poop the wiring bits.
Ew.
So it's like, they're not just nibbling it. That's what I say. They're ingesting it.
What is
They probably go off and die of mouse cancer after they eat all the carcinogenic mouse or the wire housing. But so anyway, so it's back to like my story. My philosophy is, and I know from running these cars, is like what you don't want to deal with when you're on a long trip are fuel issues. So one of the points that we talked about when I chatted with Bill on the phone one of these times, or when I saw him out west, was the fact that I thought it'd probably be more economical for him to get a new fuel tank. So there's all these decisions when you're putting a car back together. Is it a show car? Do we finish the chassis the way we finished the body? Do we put new wiring in? Do we make the old wiring work? And all of it has to be considered in the context of what the car is for and what the goal is with the car. And so the goal for this car is that obviously if we're going to drive it cross country, or Bill's going to, I don't want him, he'll be a friend / client of mine. I don't want him to break down. So one of the things we're going to eliminate is it will basically have the fuel supply of a brand new vehicle. It has a freshly rebuilt engine like a brand new vehicle because Tom does a good job and it's all rebuilt. It'll have a fresh braking system like a brand new vehicle. And the downside of that is that costs a lot of money, but what it'll have that's cool is it'll have the character of a barn find 1970 GTV. It'll have all the parts of a barn find 1970 GTV, but it'll work like it's a 1970 GTV in 1970, not in 2024. But again, it's like, it's tough, and it's tough doing these projects even for myself because there's no escaping the cost of the parts that you need to put in one of these old cars to make it work like a then modern version of itself. And in some cases better, like this car has a much bigger displacement engine than original. It has disc brake and a lot of stuff that makes it work really, really nice compared to how it would have worked in 1968. And Bill has a lot of his own cars and they're high performance. He is well aware of what a car works like when it's been customized in the direction of more drivability and more power. And the GTV, even though it's a preservation, still needs to have drivability because it's in the intention of the project is for it to be driven, and driven thousands of miles. And again, this car should be good for another lifetime of miles because it's going to live a dry life in Las Vegas more than likely. So this is fun. It's always fun getting parts. This whole pile will be fastened into one vehicle, driving across Route 80 to Las Vegas at some point. It's just welding and bolting away to do it. So I'm going to show you quick what my intention is on the welding project today. So the GTV needed both heater channels, and anytime a car needs heater channels, at least on the East Coast, and again, this car was in Milwaukee, so it's a Midwest car, there's always an amount of body metal above the heater channels that it needs to sort of reconnect to the car to fill in the gaps. So the heater channels are finished on the GTV and we didn't get to film that. Melissa and I have been suffering through a new computer, which for old folks like us is a challenge, to try and keep up with how to edit videos. And then I also retired in the meantime, which basically confused my time more than I thought it would. I thought I'd be probably a month past where I am now on the GTV last month, so it put me behind. And I'm sorry to Bill for that, but there's not much I can do about it. But anyway, so on the GTV, we didn't get to film a lot of the metal work, and actually had some pretty cool metal work, but I think we have video of the most complicated spot that I fixed that we might add into this when my editor does the editing. And then today's job is the last of the structural welding on the car, and I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do. Okay, since we did not film much of the metal work on the GTV, I want to take you around and show you what I did because I think it's worth seeing. And this is kind of like a common operation for me on an East Coast Beetle. So this is people that are from this area of the country are going to be familiar with, the guys like me that work on this stuff are going to be familiar with what I did, but maybe people that aren't, I do see some people watching from other areas, might be interesting to see how do us guys on the East Coast put these cars back together after they rust. So if you follow me over here, I can show you. And again, the idea of this car, and again, it's dirty, but it's original blue paint on probably 75% of the car. There's a documented touch-up. We got a lot of paperwork with this car, and it talks about an accident and the work that they did. And I can see they did a nice repair on it, but I can see where the repair was. But the cool thing about this car, and if Melissa comes over here and shows you this quarter panel, this is the original paint, and this is without even buffing it. So when I get this car cleaned up, metal work done, paint blended in, I'll buff the whole car, and I'm pretty confident the car is going to have actually a nice shine to the original paint. So if you come up here, and I'm making myself leave the doors on the car because I constantly recheck the door gaps as I weld pieces in to final fit the heater channels. So I'm gonna climb in my home away from home here. So when I put heater channels in, I don't have a body jig to make sure that they're in the right location relative to door gaps and the squareness of a body. So even with heater channels welded in one of these cars, despite what people think, they flex. And I was on a message board the other day and a guy had welded heater channels in, stored the car for 3 months, got the car back out, put it on another storage method, and his doors wouldn't close right. And it's only because he moved the point that the car was jacked up on further forward, and it sagged the car a little bit. So there was no need to panic. When you put the car back on the pan, the doors would be in the right place. But these are very rigid cars, Volkswagen Beetles, but they still flex. So I've learned over the years to maintain my door gaps as I work through welding, because when you weld and put heat to things, the metal does move around. And as I go, then I can check the door gap, and if I need to, I can readjust.
Is that these things right here?
These are pieces of square stock that I put in. This car had nothing down here.
Is that what you're saying that helps to hold it?
So I put these in, I get the car jacked up to where the door is closed good, and I weld these in. These cross members that don't belong here will stay here until the car's back on its pan.
So the doors will properly.
So that I don't lose my door alignment, because that's, like I showed you in the other video, I get really fascinated with making.
It's your favorite thing, I know.
I think that a door closing properly is an indicator of the level of work you did on it. So it's not an ego thing, it's just if I'm going to do metal work on this car, everything that can work as good as it should work as good as it can.
It's quality.
How's that for a quote? I can't remember what I said. So when I get a car, an East Coast car, a lot of times this inner, can you see where we're at here? This is the back seat area. This is the inner quarter panel. This is the heater channel that you can buy. And then usually the car is rusted off somewhere around here, or East Coast cars, I see them as high as here. Okay, so I get the heater channel in at the locations I have. I always try to maintain this distance, even if it's only a scrap of rusty metal left, because it gives you the depth of your rocker panel in relation to the quarter panel, which gives you your gap for the running boards to fit into on a Beetle. And again, a lot of it seems like it's easy to do, but it's super easy to overlook something and end up with more space between here and here than it had at the factory. And I think in other videos you'll see I have the measurements written on the window to constantly remind me to check them. And there's variables that I can't account for, like this heater channel on the passenger side is 1/8 of an inch shorter here than the one on that side. So I have to adjust for a much closer door sill on this side than that side. To alter this, I'd have to make this gap bigger here to here than it was on the factory car. Well, it's just, with aftermarket parts, even good stuff, this is not a complaint about aftermarket parts. These are parts stamped by somebody in another country trying to copy a part that they got from a car that they thought was a good car, or an old stock part that sat around for 50 years. These are close facsimiles to what you need to build the car, but they are not a factory part. They have to be adjusted. You have to tap them around. You have to reshape them. There's no, somebody that I was talking to bought a pair of these quarter patches and were frustrated that they weren't exactly the right shape. And again, that's no point of arrogance. I've done enough of them. I don't even expect them to be the right shape, but they're a good starting point. I could make Bill a quarter patch out of a piece of sheet metal, use the English wheel, use a sheet metal brake, and it would be easy and fun to do. But he wouldn't want to pay me all those hours to do that. So I start with a panel that already has a little bit of a crown to it, already has some edges, the edges of brake. It has a brake in the middle where it needs to be. This one was, can you show them this? This quarter panel patch was too long from here to here, but this reveal was right. So I chose to go with this reveal lineup because it's the most efficient use of time, and I will cut this and weld it to have this gap tighter. But overall, then it'll be the original factory profile. This line goes straight down like it should. I used it straight as you check it, and this line goes straight down like it should. And then this panel will have the right thickness here so that this doesn't stick proud of the door when the door is closed. And again, there's no way to learn this stuff until you've used these Denmark panels 10 times, you know, and learn the lessons. So then I'll show you how, come back inside. So on the internet, there is no shortage of videos about making cardboard templates and making metal patches and you know, how to repair metal structure of a car. I do it the same as everybody else does. This is the template for the patch that I made for each side to fill in between the replacement heater channel and what was left of the Volkswagen body. The drill mark is because it had to be pre-drilled, and a backing plate for the seat belt, the pull-through prevention plate goes in there. And again, Bill and I, or possibly both of us, can be driving this car long distances. It was important that the seat belt retention plate be built at least as strong as Volkswagen did it. So the plate has been reinstalled behind the repair panel. The repair panel is put in as it was from the factory with a full seam weld and then a full seam weld down here. And that's the way it was at the factory. If I bring the factory headliner back down, because we're doing a you know, not a restoration or preservation, I want one of the choices to be to keep the factory headliner in. Now that the car is getting nicer, I feel like I should rip the headliner out. But that would be Bill's choice.
Yeah, keep that one.
But just to show you, see, the original seatbelt mount is where it was. Okay. This is the hole where the seatbelt mounted. Okay, so that's all done. It's finished ground. If this was a concourse show car, I probably would have metal worked this a little bit more where the bead of the weld is still visible. There's no need to do that on a driver quality car. This isn't even seam sealed yet. So the factory, this is how careful the factory is about the joints of the car. Seam sealer. So it's really easy to over restore a car, especially when you're doing rust work. And again, if this was a 1952 and it was going to be a show car, we might spend thousands of more dollars doing metal finishing, but I'm not doing it on this car. It's going to be under carpet, under the headliner. This is a good quality repair. Everything is seam welded, butt welded, no lap joints, and it's good to go. I'm confident that this is as good as factory. So that's the story on all that. And again, I had to do all that attachment all the way up around here. It got lower firewall pieces. I did not put the whole firewall on because we're trying to preserve paint on this car. So if I go all the way up here to the firewall, that means I'm getting into the paint here.
Where's the firewall?
This in a Beetle, this is the firewall. This was all gone. You can, if you look close, you can see the welds. And again, I'm not going to spend 5 more hours of Bill's money grinding these welds because that's under the carpet. I'm aware that you could take a die grinder but it's not fiscally responsible on this car. When this car is painted and I touch it up, it'll look factory, and there's carpet in it. Okay, let me show you what I'm gonna do up front. And I'll stop boring you with my mouth running. You take a peek over here and see a little glimpse of one of the project tragedies I have going on that I'll tell you about another time. All these parts are from the engine of the 60 Beetle, the 600 Beetle.
Oh wait. I thought that thing was moving. The flywheel.
Was moving is the key word.
Gosh.
That's for another episode. So come on up front, I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I'm not going to bore you by watching me weld. So again, decisions to be fiscally responsible with the level of repair that the car demands for the goal of the project. This car is meant to be a preserved driver. The lower firewall, here I'll show you. The lower firewall was rusty. it definitely needed to be repaired to make the car weather tight. So there was not any option of I'll leave these rust holes here. I wouldn't worry much about the strength of the car with a couple holes up here, but water penetration would be a problem driving cross country. So it's gonna get a lower firewall. I'm not gonna replace the higher part of the firewall because then I get into all this patinaed paint that we're trying to not alter. So what I made a decision to do is I bought the Clocker Home European replacement firewall and used all the sections that I could use without getting into the old paint. So what I have here, and I can take the clamps off and show you quickly. So that is the inside of all the work that I did. So before I weld this piece on, that'll get sprayed with self-etching primer. And there's still some dirt in there, but you can see everything's fully welded, everything's butt welded, no lap joints, strong as original.
Butt welded.
And then what this panel will get is drilled for spot welds, right where all the factory spot welds were. All along here, and attached with spot welds, and then seam sealed just like the factory did it.
What does it mean, seam sealed?
Seam sealer is like the glue that every car in the world has between panels. So everybody's all worried about lap joints on cars when they do rust repair, but the factory has lap joints. This is a lap joint. A lap joint is where the metal goes over top. A butt joint is where the metal goes end to end. But there's this sort of snobbery in the car world now where it's really frowned upon if somebody does a lap joint. And again, there's spots I would never do a lap joint, like on a quarter panel that could draw water and get bubbles and stuff, but there's a lot of lap joints on every car, even modern cars. Anywhere there's an overlap, a spot weld hole, and it's a lap joint. And people get really excited about weld through primer and all these things that they think stop rust. And every factory lap joint is of an older car is bare metal between them. It's just how they're made. You put weld through primer on, it burns right off. That's why you weld through it, it burns it off. So, and then quickly I can show you that this was a mouse nest hole. It was probably the most complicated spot on this car to fix. And I think it came out good. And it's ready to have the hinge spring welded back on. And then it will get carefully sand it with like 220, and then I will blow paint into it and like faux patina it to match the other side. So you'll never know that this was gone from here to there and all the way down. And it was all from rodent urine. And it was rust, and it had a drip hole that went all the way down this far. And that's all been repaired. She's a winner. Gonna make it out of metal. that's sealed and ready to be
That's good.
seam sealed, and then I'll put rock guard back on it. So next time you see this panel, it'll be part of the car. And you're not missing anything great. I'm going to put self-etching primer in there on the bare metal. I'm going to drill this for spot welds, and then I'm going to clamp it all up and spot weld it on, and then the front, all the structural welding on the car is finished. And I know I'm going on here a lot, but then all I have left to do on the body is hammer and dolly the contour of this crown to where I want it, and finish the spot welds on this. And then the body will be ready for...
Are you talking about this thing here?
Yeah, the quarter panel path. And then that'll be ready for little body work, and it'll get painted. And then the body's done. We'll have to make a decision about what parts of the fenders that we have we're going to use. I'd like to use the whole fenders, even with their... I think they should wear their rust damage proudly, because it's a Midwest card, but I'll talk to Bill and we'll figure out. The main body of the car will be waterproof and structurally 100% sound. So that's where it's at. Thanks for watching. It's getting exciting, so we still can't figure out exactly what to show. I hope that what we're showing is fun and interesting. There's so much car stuff that goes on in our week, we get a little bit lost in like, oh, should we show this or should we show that? And Melissa does a lot of filming of stuff that we're super excited about, but then you start to put videos together and they get longer. And I think one of the main pieces of information I took from people is make them shorter, so we're trying to do that. But I'm super excited doing this. We have a lot of fun doing it. It's 1,000 degrees in here today, so I'm sweating just talking. And I really appreciate people watching. I would love if people would even just get on and make a comment and criticize something you can't stand me saying or doing. And or let me know, what stuff you want to see more of, or things that are interesting, and we'll go from there. I think I would like to do a little bit more of my simple way of how-to stuff, but I can't figure out if people want that or not. But as far as car stories and going to get stuff and show you cars I've built and things we made, we could go on with that for years. So thanks for watching. If you're seeing this part, you watched all the way to the end, which is always awesome. And please like it. What do they say? Like, share, subscribe, do all those things. Please, 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 please. All right, thanks. Drilling for spot welds is not glamorous work. Should I talk? All I'm doing is aligning the clamps on either side of the hole I drilled to do a plug weld. And then I'm working my way down and making sure that both panels, because it's a pinch weld, are perfectly tight. I want the weld tight, and then after it's done I can take a hammer and dolly and tighten the whole sealant. But I want no space between the plug and where it's going to weld to. So it's strong. Yeah,
No, you got
that
it.
home run.
Yep, yep.